I am Uriah J. Fields. The subject of this message is When God Seems Lost. The scripture text for this message, if only I knew where to find him. Job 23:3 NIV. It is because my own personal experiences in many respects parallel those of Job, especially with regard to my experience of having been separated time and time again from God, that I am compelled to address the matter of being disconnected from God and even sensing that God was lost. To experience God as being lost is to experience lost love to the greatest degree. This is the greatest loss that a person can ever know. And this infers that God was once found as expressed in these words. God once was found, but now he's lost, was present, but now he's missing. What a recrum and sad commentary on what was once beautiful and graced by the presence of God, but is now characterized by abandonment, separation, hopelessness. No greater loss than the loss of God, lost presence of God. Life and nature declares that God is in our midst, even for those who identify with God only in an impersonal way, such as through beliefs. Without faith in him, he is present. The faithless are likely to call upon him in times of need or trouble. But for the person who once sang, I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see, and who now can only say, once God was found, but now he's lost. Life for that person is hell. And in desperation, like Job, he exclaimed, if only I knew where to find him. For the person who once knew God, praised and glorified him, the experience of God being lost is more difficult to handle than for a person who had not had experienced or had a personal relationship with him. In this regard, it is like the pain experienced after the death of one's true love is greater than the pain experienced by a mate who did not love his or her deceased partner. To be in a personal relationship with God is to experience him as one who is closer than a mother, father, wife, or child. When a person in such faith bond ceases to feel the presence of God, God may seem to be lost to him, that is, unavailable and inaccessible. Now, these are some of the times when God may seem lost to people. One, when trouble overwhelms us and our call on him for help is not answered. Who among us humans would not help a desperate person who in his distress cries out for our help? Surely we feel that in times of distress, God will come to our rescue. And time again, we may have been able to agree with the psalmist that God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. For the person who has been blessed, ministered unto, and aided, especially in time of trouble, by God to come to a place in his life when it seems that God no longer returns his call and he does not know the whereabouts of God, to that person, God may indeed be lost. When after returning to those places where one had met God, as the woman of Samaria met Jesus after returning to the well, or the United States of America, many of them died in the middle passage while journeying across the Atlantic Ocean, and some others died as a result of having confronted their enemies. Think about the 6 million Jews, many of whom died in Hitler's concentration camps, and other people who were liquidated with cannon fire at the hands of German Nazis during World War II. Today, during the first decade of the third millennium, there are 6 million homeless people in America, the wealthiest nation in the world. Included in this population are poverty-stricken children. They exist in the midst of affluence and escalating wealth for the rich, who continue to get richer while the poor gets poorer. Then there is the underclass, composed of people who are considered by the powers that be and some other Americans as being people who do not belong to any class. In a word, they are under or beneath class. The population of this classless or minus class grouping is growing at the same time when new names are being added to the millionaires and billionaires lists. Some people unable to understand how evil triumphs over good can only maintain a belief in God by believing that God is lost or not on duty. They even say this wouldn't be happening if God was present. To them, God seems lost. They may no longer be disappointed or angry with God because they have concluded that he is lost or maybe just missing in action, not just willfully unresponsive to their pleas for help. In that case, they may reason that he is unable to help himself, let alone them. However, some of these desperate people never gave up on God, although he seemed lost to them. They may have gone searching for him in churches, synagogues, temples, and cathedrals, where they found no evidence that he had frequented those places lately. As a matter of fact, they may have remained at these so-called houses of worship long enough to hear sermons preached and songs sung by those who call themselves the faithful, but found no evidence that a living God was present. They may have left these so-called houses of worship asking themselves, why do you look for the living among the dead? All these God seekers may not have been in agreement as to whether God was dead or alive, but they all agreed that he was not present for them in those places where they had sought to find him. Without corroborating evidence that God is dead, most of these seekers continued to believe that the God they once knew to be present for them is not dead, he is only lost. 3. When faith is dead, when all you of little faith slowly but surely succumb to all you with a minuscule faith, without faith, no faith to match a molehill, let alone a mountain, no faith to trust for healing, even when treated by a healer, no faith to let go of yesterday's slayers, let alone surrender to the cosmic creative force, no faith to walk beyond the vision of sight, and no vision at all. It is then that God may seem lost. The greatest enemy of faith is the disuse of faith. To disuse faith is to abuse faith. There is a law that says, use it or lose it, and it applies as well to faith in God. It is fear that keeps people from acting on or in faith. During his earthly ministry, Jesus frequently said to his hearers, "Do not be afraid." Nothing interferes with a person exercising his faith, that is, prevents him from daring, risking, or launching out into the deep where the fishing is good, like fear. Even when fish are no longer biting in the shallow waters near the banks, therefore people with little or no faith may continue to fish in the shallow waters, although they are not catching fish, on the pretext that fish used to be here. Faith is a matter of ultimate concern. To make it anything less is to lose it, and in that process, lose one's connection with God. It is through the eyes of faith that we are able to keep God in our view. Fourth, when hope is gone. Hope exists for a person when he can affirm with assurance that God is present and sense that he has power to intervene in human affairs. It is waiting for anticipatory good to happen even when the particular good may not be known. This is the recognition that God knows better than we what is good for us. Hope envisions victory, not defeat, life, not death, and victory in death. Hope, let a friend be seriously ill, seemingly sick unto death, as we stand by his bedside with heavy hearts and with waning hope, or without hope that our friend will survive. Then let a physician arrive at that bedside, and after checking the vital signs of our sick friend, say, "There is still hope." Oh, how our hearts leap for joy. Our faces light up with a glow. We step with a new lightness in our feet, gratitude and praise upon our lips, and we begin to sing a new song. There is hope. It is easy to recognize that hopeful and hopeless people live in two different inner worlds, and they are worlds apart. Hope is a spiritual condition. A person living with hope senses the presence of God, for his hope is in God. A person living without hope may be out of touch with God. To him, God may seem to be lost. And when God seems lost to a person, he is lost. Of course, a more accurate way of stating this truth is when a person is not in a relationship with God, it is he, not God, who is lost. The singer is correct when he sings that African American spiritual. We have come this far by faith and hope. And it is also correct for us to say that faith and hope keeps God in our view. The Apostle Peter says, "Your faith and hope are in God." And the Apostle Paul says, "And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love." Both these followers of Christ understood the importance of hope. May we too also understand its importance. How important is hope? Responding succinctly to the question, we can say when hope throws in the trowel, everything else comes tumbling or crashing down upon us. Without hope, all the resources come to naught. Yes, when God seems lost, hope may be gone. When God seems lost, the soul is in a crisis. Crisis of the soul is not just another crisis among crises. It is the ultimate crisis. The cry from the cross, and the depth of a despairing soul pleadingly asking, my God, why have you forsaken me? When the soul is in crisis, it is like being in the intensive care of a hospital without a physician being present and with all life systems unplugged. Whether perceiving God being lost as a chronic condition, a temporary state, there remains in every person, regardless to his spiritual condition, a divine spark. However small, that will not for long allow him to indefinitely be unaware of the presence of God. In truth, God has never been lost, but in a person's reality, he may be lost just as he was lost for Job. But God is present and he remains aware of our needs and concerns. The psalmist expresses this truth about God's omnipotence, omnipresence, and omnipresent when he says, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in hell, the depths, you are there. Although God is present and we cannot escape from him, not even for a moment, even when he seems lost to us, we should accept, not deny, at any given moment our disconnectedness with God and our oblivions of his presence as the truth about our experience of him. A truth that cannot be invalidated or negated. By accepting this truth, a person owns rather than denies that he is not in touch with God and that something significant in his life is missing. Honesty and true confession, not denial and avoidance, are necessary in seeking rather to connect with God. In Job's search to find God, who for him was lost, acknowledged this truth when he said, if only I knew where to find him. His reunion with God depended upon him making that acknowledgement. That was like the first step he had to take in reestablishing a relationship with God. Reflecting on Job during this period of his life, when he felt that he was not in touch with God, can be helpful to others who are separated from God and who seek to reunite with him. After God, upon Satan's request, withdrew the hedge that he had around Job, nearly everything he had was destroyed. That included his sons and daughters who were killed, and the divestiture of his livestock and property. His body was afflicted, covered with sores, boils from the sole of his feet to the crown of his head. He was in excruciating pain and full of misery. His friends turned away from him, and his wife said to him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. Job did find God. The epilogue to the book of Job says, after Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord made him prosperous again and gave him twice as much as he had before. And he also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. After this, Job lived 140 years. He saw his children and their children to the 4th generation. This chapter has focused on one of important lessons that can be gleaned from reading the book in which this message was written. And the book that this message is written is God Within Us, by Uriah J. Fields. You may want to secure this book. This book can make an extraordinary difference in the way we perceive God, one another, ourselves, and the world. It is a guide for those who desire to have a personal relationship with God and experience His fatherly love. The unique role of the redemptive work of Jesus Christ in God-man reconciliation and the ministry of the Holy Spirit to individuals are discussed simply and with clarity. Also presented in this book is a day-by-day autobiographical account of the author's experience of living in the presence of God and the attendant near perpetual joy that he derives from his walk with God. Again, I say, you might want to secure this book by going on either Amazon.com or some of the other searches or your local bookstore. God Within Us by Uriah J. Fields. Way down yonder by myself, and I couldn't hear nobody pray. Oh Lord, I couldn't hear nobody pray. Couldn't hear nobody pray. Oh, way down yonder by myself, and I couldn't hear Lord. I couldn't hear nobody pray in the valley. I couldn't hear nobody pray on my knees. I couldn't hear nobody pray with my burden. I couldn't hear nobody pray. And my Savior, I couldn't hear nobody pray. Oh Lord, I couldn't hear nobody pray. Couldn't hear nobody pray. Oh, way down yonder by myself. And I couldn't hear, Lord, I couldn't hear, oh, I couldn't hear nobody pray, nobody.